Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Las Vegas, Nevada turned up some serious surprises in the Freestyle Chess event. We already covered Magnus Carlsen versus Levon Aronian. It was explained to one of you, by one of you to me, because I missed the live broadcast, that Stockfish didn't break. Magnus Carlsen had a draw and didn't claim it, and Levon Aronian went on to win. And that is important because he is playing Hans Niemann in the final. The final. Hans Niemann versus Levon Aronian. In the first game, Hans Niemann had the white pieces, Levon Aronian had the black pieces. Is it the coming of age of Hans Niemann? Is he going to win this event? After kind of, like he wasn't able, there's been some logistic problems, he hasn't been able to get into all of these events. Let me speak English. Oh, I just realized my microphone's not plugged in. What's going on here? Okay, now you should be able to hear me more clearly. I did that whole introduction without a microphone. Crazy. Anyway, Hans Niemann's got the white pieces. Levon Aronian with the black pieces. We get d4. Traditionally a d4 opening, but as I said before, this is freestyle chess. The pieces are shuffled. The only pieces that belong where they are in this position are the king and the two rooks. So, it's what it is. We get d4, d5, and we get this position. You can see an early f5, and it's always about, developing your pieces and looking for ways to attack. So we see Hans maneuvering his knight. I imagine Levon does a similar thing with his pieces. We jump the knights into the center, and we look for a trade. So far, it's just copycats of the two. And that's also can happen in freestyle chess when you get positions like this. There's a lot of kind of copying and symmetry because you've got the same position, just mirror image. So we get g4. Now, you can't here play g5. I'm sorry, you just can't. Maybe the engine's thinking about it, but I imagine there's some various tactics with the captures here, and it's probably just a bad idea. So instead we get, if I reload the board, we get knight df6, because it's on the d square, and we get g5, knight to h5. The knight's coming in. I don't know where to. Like, it can't be captured at the moment, and it can be defended, but, like, it's just putting pressure on that. Like, if I move this knight here, that gets defended. So, I don't know what's going on. Also, my screen's starting to wobble. I don't know if anyone's computer ever does that when they're on tabs. So, we get knight d to f3, and now g6 defending the knight. It's just stuck on the edge of the board. It can't be attacked and won, but what does it do when it gets home? It's going to go, like, to g7. So let's see. Bishop to c2, bishop to d6, and we just develop the pieces. Bishop to e3 is an interesting one, but you probably wouldn't have played e3 yourself, and you can't play e4 because the knight's on that square. Bishop to e6, you can see a lot of copying, just the placement of the knights is slightly different. a4 now from Hans, and this is what the players are beginning to learn. You don't always want to castle very quickly, because you kind of give your opponent a place to attack. Probably both players will castle kingside, because the structure is a bit locked there, and there's a bit more play on the queen side, so you probably don't want to go that way. Queen to g2, queen to g7, and now both sides are ready to castle queenside, although not really, there's a couple of tactics. So that's why we get knight to d3, and then to b6, knight to d2, and now a rook to c8. So now Levon definitely has to go kingside. Knight to f1, king d7, no castling for Levon Aronian. Still, the position remains very much level, but now he's got a slight initiative. And long castles from Hans. And it's minus 0.6. King c7, the correct move. Knight to g3. This was Hans's plan. We get a trade, and now he has got an open h-file. And maybe Levon shouldn't have traded, but he didn't really have much better options. Sorry if I sound a bit sick. I've had some mild health issues. Minor health issues, not mild. Minor, maybe is a better word. Anyway, he's got an open h-file and a clear target. Now, this is defended twice, but that's something Hans can put pressure on. h5, or maybe not. Now, the best move you can see, according to the engine, for Hans to play is en passant. and that should be serious because en passant is always the best move to play. If it is available, you should play it. Also, you can't see the times. It's 11 minutes to 8 minutes. They're playing 30 plus 30. I don't think time was too much of a factor in this game. Anyway, he plays en passant. Rook takes, and we trade off the pieces. Black gets the open file. Sorry, I'm recording this at 9 a.m. Rook to h1. Queen slides back, and now we are preparing. Yeah. Hans is going to infiltrate. Levon covers it. We infiltrate with the knight, but now g5. Now you can play g5, and it just breaks everything. We remove the knight. We take the pawn. Look at that in-between move. Now 2 pieces hang, and you've opened up all of this. Lovely move there. So we grab this, takes, and now bishop takes f4. I'm not going to hype up that move. It was pretty simple. Your bishop was hanging, you take the free pawn. King slides out the way because there could have been various pins at some point. And it's just a move to get him out of danger. Queen to h5 hits the bishop. The bishop gets defended. And now queen f7. Looking for a queen trade. We just move the rook. If we want to trade, we want to trade on our terms. We get the trade on our terms. But now rook h8. Hans Niemann has 4 minutes, Levon Aronian has 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and Hans Niemann is a bit better. And the only move here for Levon is what he finds at c5. Got to start creating a bit of counterplay, because Hans is very quickly taking over the game. e3, maybe a slight step in the wrong direction, bishop to e4, and now rook to e8. And, Levon's running out of options, and here he makes a mistake. With 90 seconds left on the clock, he plays c takes d4, leaving him with 64 seconds on the clock to Hans Niemann's 4 minutes. Now, which way do you capture? The best way, e takes d4. And now, we've got some problems for black. Why? Because you've got a structure here of 4 pawns altogether. Black has got 2 structures of 2, and white has got a clean pass pawn. Also, I don't know if any of you have noticed, Hans Niemann is up a pawn. He just went up a pawn at some point. Excuse me. So, rook f5, rook h8, maybe a slight step in the wrong direction. Now bishop takes e5, the only move holding. Takes, and now Levon has to find rook to f7. Defending the 7th rank and kind of getting the rook in the perfect position. His bishop is well supported, and also if the rooks come off, it is a opposite color bishop endgame, which is probably holdable, but it will take some work. He does find it. Rook to f7. King comes up, king to d2, rook to h7. Traded. Now this should be holdable, but Hans Niemann's up a pawn. And very quickly, we get this, and now Levon has to find d4. He has to create counterplay. He does find it. King to c8. Hans doesn't want to come up here because he can't, and he doesn't want to come up that way, so he's going to try and come around this way. And bishop to e8, but now king to b2, and now you've got to be careful. You've got to play b5. It looks dangerous because you're like, but pass pawn, it's 3 squares away from queen. Your king will be fine. You will monitor it. This pawn is always a lurking threat, and your bishop covers everything you need it to cover. Why do you have to play this? Because if you don't, and you play something, like king to d5, which is what Levon played, there's b5. Now Levon makes a practical decision. He just takes on e5, and the bar shoots up. But it's not easy. What do you need to play here? You need to take here, which is what Hans does. Now king d5, and now the only move for Hans to win the game is bishop back to d8. But as a chess player, it's very hard sometimes to move a piece back to where it was. So he goes here. Still winning, but not an immediate knockout blow, because now we get e5. And b6 comes too quickly because of bishop to c6. And you go here and here. And Levon plays quickly and gets the right coordination. And now this is just a dead draw because as the pawn comes up, we get king e6. Levon calculates the whole endgame in his mind. He pushes the wrong pawn! And is now losing. Takes. Hans finds the wrong way to go. Hans needed to just keep going up. Because if, let's say, king b5. Okay, king b5 is what's played. Now let's say e3. Bishop to f4 stops everything, and your bishop is about to be lost. And put into a corner. These endgames are tricky. So takes. As fate would have it, Hans moved his bishop to force this and get this. But now we get bishop to a6. And now the king can't come up to b5. It comes to c5, but you get king f5. And the bishop comes back, and now the king comes in. And we can sack the bishop. And we are going to push our own pawns through. Takes. And the game ends in a draw. Why is it a draw? Because it would have gone here. Here. Queen. And then something like check. Here. And they would have just traded queens. And it would have been a draw. Alright. So their first game ends in a draw. We will come back to game 2 in a moment. But let us check in on what happened in the rest of the tournament. These are the grand finals. I should probably change the view because I don't think you can see. Yes, so these are the grand finals of the lower bracket. Magnus Carlsen, we saw him in that previous video. He got knocked down. Hikaru Nakamura at some stage lost. So the two of them played for third place, which Magnus Carlsen ended up winning. Fabiano Caruana and Arjun Erigaisi played for 5th and 6th place, which Fabiano Caruana won, straight sets. So Magnus and Hikaru played 30-30. Hans and Levon played 30-30. The Fabiano Arjun game and the Wesley So Pragdananda game, Pragdananda winning there to claim 7th place, were all 10+10. If you want to talk about time controls in the comments down below and how they make no sense, considering I thought this was a classical tournament and they have played classical chess. I don't know why they keep kind of shifting around the format a little bit. I don't know, maybe it's to make each event unique. Not so sure about that, but hey, I'm not in charge. They're in charge. So we're going to do a quick edit. And then we'll be back with game 2 for Levon versus Hans. Yes, so we've got here game 2. Levon now has the white pieces, and it is a brand new position for the players to maneuver through. 30+30, here we go. D4. But the king's on D4, so it's a king's pawn opening. D5, and we get this. Like a queen's gambit, getting the queen out early. Because the queen was on C1. So now you can take with the queen F6. I assume to play something like this. But it also hits the queen and allows the bishop space to develop. So we get queen to c3, c6, and now knight to d3. And there are always sometimes tactics lurking in the openings, but there's not really much to find here. Now we get f3 after f6, and Levon's just going to build a nice big center, knight to d6, a4 first to disallow various knight to b5s. So we get bishop to f7, just developing and preparing short castles, because it's to the king side. Bishop to f2, and now short castles, but the king moved about 4 squares. Knight to d2, rook to d8, and now also short castles. And this doesn't look like a... And this looks more like a typical chess position. We've now castled. The bishops are, on f2 and f7, which is a bit weird. I suppose the bishop on b1 and b8 is a bit weird. The queens are on the c file. But it's fine. It's a playable position. h5 from Hans Niemann is probably a step in the wrong direction. The eval bar now thinks Levon is better, and he can play e4, and a6 is now a mistake from Hans Niemann. His best move to kind of continue to hold on would be something like b5. b5 or a5. So b5 you invite trades, a5 it's kind of a similar thing. You want to activate your pieces, because that's kind of what he's lagging in the moment, in my slight opinion. I think he's lagging in good quality development, because you would argue that the pieces that have moved are about the same. but the queen's slightly more active, and I think that there are more positions for Levon to exploit. It feels like his pieces are making more of an impact. So a6, it's not Camille enough, you're not doing anything, and now we get rook to e1, bringing another piece to the party. Bishop to a7, this was the key idea from Hans with a6, to get his bishop nice and active on this diagonal. But now knight to b3. And now b5 comes. But e5. Slightly wrong, maybe mistimed, but it's good enough, because takes. We capture the knight, we give up our knight, and we take here. And now there's only one move. Rook must go to d7. Hans Niemann has been rocked. You can't see the time. He's got 6 minutes. Levon Aronian has got 23. And Hans Niemann plays rook e8. And now Levon is completely winning if he plays knight to b4, which he does. Rook takes e7. Now we get knight takes c6. Rook c7 fails. d5. We get knight to f4, targeting the pawn 2 different ways. But now simply knight to e7 check. And even though it's not the best move, we get rook takes e7, rook takes e7, the queen is defended, so we can trade like this. We get this trade, and this is a completely winning position for Levon Aronian. After knight takes d5, he plays bishop to e4, brilliancy. What? Your rook is hanging, but I hit your rook through here, and it pins you, and I'm threatening c4, so if you move out the way, I'm just up 2 pawns. And I don't have to worry about either of these. Brilliancy from Levon Aronian. Out of nowhere. The bishop's only move so far. Bishop to e4, brilliancy. We get f5. We take. Oh, he did it again. He sacrificed the rook. Because you can't take with the king. You cannot take with the king. Because this is completely losing because you take the knight. And it's a fork of the king and the rook in the corner. The rook that never moved. So rook takes f7, brilliancy. F takes e4, removes the bishop, and now we just slide the rook back. Because we're targeting the b pawn, there's nothing you can do. e3, now very importantly, you can't take this, and do not go here, because you will lose this with check. And you're still winning, but, that square is defended, and the knight's kind of infiltrating. So, you can see the eval starting to drop. So, e3 check, king to e1. Levon never missed nothing. Now we do get knight to f4, threatening the take, but we just push the pawn. Check, and now we come up, no problems. b2, just rook b1. Rook b1, rook b1, rook to d8, we just take the pawn. And Levon Aronian converts this game effortlessly in the end. And h3 was the final nail in the coffin. The knight will be booted from the position, and you are simply down in exchange. Levon Aronian wins back-to-back brilliancies, and there's really nothing more to say. He had a fantastic tournament. Had that really dodgy game against Magnus, which should have been a draw, and they probably would have played another tiebreak game, set of games. Maybe Magnus would have won, and he would have won the tournament. Hans Niemann, not yet, but coming. He had a fantastic showing in this tournament. But it really was the tournament of Levon Aronian. He had a fantastic tournament. He did lose to Hikaru in the first round. I'm looking at his knockout games. He beat Hikaru Nakamura in, I think, the quarterfinals. In the semifinals, he beat Arjun Erigaisi 2-0. The Hikaru one went to tiebreaks after losing and then winning. He came from a game down against Hikaru to knock him out. He then defeated Arjun Erigaisi in the semifinals, and he defeats Hans Niemann in the finals. An incredible performance from Levon Aronian. And there's nothing really much more to say. It was a great event. We look forward to the next one, which I think is in India, but Esports World Cup starts this week. which would be good to see. Chess as an esport is coming, and we best all be prepared. Will Magnus win that? Let's see. Let me know what you think down in the comments below.